July 15th, and just as we said, it happened. We saw in yesterday's forecast and in the past few days that we were saying Bitcoin, or the price of Bitcoin, was going to break through the 64 zone, maybe touch 65 and retest that 64 price from above. And that's exactly what we're seeing today, July 15th. Today, like on other days, what we're going to do is forecast the movement, as you've seen, the movement of Bitcoin's price for the coming days. We do this not by using indicators that are manipulated by the big players, but instead we look for those manipulations or strategies from the big players, whales, and institutions that move the price however they want. We identify these possible strategies through volume and price action, we align ourselves with them, and we profit like the institutions do, instead of losing like retail traders. All right, without further ado, what we're going to do is set up support and resistance levels and look at the Wyckoff and VSA phases that the price is currently in. I explained everything about Wyckoff VSA to you, from scratch to fully understanding the chart the way I do, in a course I've designed in a very simple way, just like these YouTube videos. I've left the link in the description with a significant discount. So let's analyze this price movement using price action and by looking for institutional activity through volume. Support and resistance levels on the 4-hour chart, which is our main channel, are between 60,000 and 68,000. That's our channel, which, if you notice, is indicating a Wyckoff accumulation phase in the long term. We look at it by switching to the 4-hour chart, because you already know that 4 hours is our headquarters for any asset, in this case Bitcoin, but it's essential to see which Wyckoff phase we're in for the long term. In the long term, we're in an accumulation phase. You can see there's accumulation here, another accumulation, then a second distribution, and accumulation. All these phases follow one after another, and what the markup and markdown do is simply connect them. You have to be careful with those markup or markdown zones, because if you enter a position against the trend, you could either end up stuck for a very long time or have to exit with losses. That's why the strategy you need to use in a sideways market, meaning in an accumulation or distribution phase, is different from the one you should use in these other phases. All right, knowing that and that we're currently in an accumulation phase, we're now entering the upper part of that channel formed between 60 and 69. Keeping that in mind, that we never want to get stuck in a markup while short or in a markdown while long, let's move to the 4-hour chart, which, as I mentioned, is where we see those movements. This channel I have marked here in orange is a pseudo channel, so to speak. We marked it yesterday, and there are many times when the price, as you know, moves from support to resistance and from resistance to support. It's always that movement, but sometimes it stays for 3-4 days, even a week, playing around in a kind of pseudo channel. And we mark it because that position is important for doing intraday trading, scalping, or even more effective swing trading. We marked it, and yesterday in the video, I told you that it was likely that in the coming days it would break through 64,000, reach 65, and then retest from the upper area. No. The movement happened earlier than expected, so to speak. We were expecting it for the weekend, but yesterday we already saw that movement. Now let's add volume, because volume is the key element. Up until now, we were talking about price action. Volume already gives us that sign, that appearance of strong hands and real manipulation of the price movement. We need to look for 4-hour volume spikes above 1.5, which tells us about the presence of institutions. We've seen that they've been very discreet or very hidden during the past week when this pseudo channel was created. And now with this long wick, a volume entry has appeared, but it's the natural volume entry. For now, we're not seeing that big manipulation. We've only seen that retest. Now, what we can expect for the start of this week, you see here that a distribution phase formed on the 4-hour chart. It's very likely that the price will retest that area. That area is the area of at least 63,600. It's a very, very common area, or one we can expect as the retest. And then looking ahead to next week, over the weekend, price movement tends to slow down, but we're going to see the price show up in this area. Unless there's a spike in volume, which would mean the big players show up when the price gets close to this distribution area, pushing the price down to catch a breather all the way to the 61,600 zone. It's a more remote possibility, but you always have to keep it in mind. It's kind of like a plan B. The most important and interesting possibility, after having spent so much time in an accumulation phase, it's been a week. The move should have broken out a bit earlier. There's a lot of liquidity, and they're probably already waiting for that upper channel area, which is around 68,000, 69,000. Keep in mind that these aren't exact lines. It's not exactly 68,000. Every time the price gets close, it adjusts a bit. Next week, we expect to see the price in that area, unless what I mentioned happens. Dropping all the way down to the 60,000 zone to gain strength is very unlikely because we've already had a double, even triple bottom, and we've had a week of accumulation. It's unlikely that it will break through that 61,600 barrier. In any case, we're going to see that retest at 63,600, and then it'll go up. We'll start to see moves above the 65 zone. So let's dive in to take a look at these moves in swing trading, in scalping and intraday trading, which we do by looking at the 15-minute, 1 hour, and 30-minute charts. We can see that very long wick with some volume. It's not an exaggerated amount of volume, but it's already telling us. It's showing us that this resistance is important at the break of 64,000. In other words, once these 64,000 have been broken, the area around 65,200 or so becomes an important resistance. We're going to try to see that retest today in the area 63,600 and then try to break through this support resistance again and reach the 65,000 area over the next few days. The best times to enter, in scalping or intraday trading are when you see those three elements combined. The appearance of significant volume, this is the key factor. Then, reaching a support or resistance level, you know that the supports or resistances you see on the 15-minute, 30-minute, or 1-hour time frames are different from the ones we use for the long term, like on the 4-hour chart. You have to look for them through reversals, and by spotting the appearance of volume, you can identify them pretty easily that way. That's the second element, reaching a support or resistance level. And the third is the shape of the Japanese candlesticks, especially wicks pointing in the opposite direction. Those three elements will give you a very, very accurate entry in scalping or intraday trading. Now let's take a look at the challenge for July. Before we look at the July challenge, I wanted to tell you that if you're interested in scalping or intraday trading, in VIP Telegram, which is a Telegram channel I share the 2 trades I make every day. Plus, alongside that, there's a discussion group where VIP members talk about their trades, their strategies, and how their day is going in general. All right, I've also left you the link. The July challenge is as follows. I started on July 1st with an account on MEXC with $500. I always make micro trades in the direction of the trend, picking up $15 or $20 each day, without any big ambitions, just to see how that account ends up at the end of the month. A position got stuck open. I'm setting the TP for you now. It was open for a day. Normally it's just hours, but sometimes that happens. I told you the price would be close to 64 and the TP was triggered. I'm also showing you the trade I made yesterday. So yesterday I had 2 profits and currently the account is at $782. What I'm going to do is, that's already a profit of more than 50% in 15 days. What I'm going to do is, whatever amount I have as profit at the end of July, if I do have a profit, which hopefully I will, I'll raffle it off among everyone who signs up at mex.com and makes their first deposit. I'm Michael Vazquez, and this is Daily Bitcoin Analysis. I really appreciate you watching this video, and as I always say, this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing my experience with you after more than 15 years in professional trading. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video. We're reaching a very important area. It's crucial to see if it's going to retest, if it's going to gain strength lower down, or if it's finally going to break through the upper part of the channel for good. There are a lot of clues we need to watch for day by day. See you tomorrow.